Yes, hello. Welcome to the Place of Wrath and Tears, a Cult Divinity Lost actual play. Uh, Tonight we are going to have an interesting night. So we are generally going to get started. Bethany, would you like to roll? Last game, get all your brains in a row, Benjamin.
Mm-hmm.
Last game, Matthew and Clara went on a dinner date with the West Smiths. It went terrible in every possible way. We'll find out a little bit more about that now. And Bethany has been doing things, has not been idle, since when all of the uncomfortable lovebirds decided to go to the same thing. So, to start with, let's roll for your schizophrenia.
Okay, that's 15, but I didn't minus yet, so hang on. So it's got to be something in the middle because I'm always down. Cheat code. I don't think it's enough to knock me down to 9, so I think it's just somewhere in the middle of the road section.
Okay, that's fine.
I'm just looking for my sheet, which I had open, but I don't know where it is now.
Hate that.
Wait, 7 and 6 is 13. I do need to find this because I might. No, I think it's still down to 11. I still need to find my sheet. I can.
Okay.
I think it's somewhere still in the middle.
The world is not as bad as it could be.
Yeah.
Part of it is, I think, that having spent an amount of time in the underworld and then having spent a brief amount of time having some kind of strange guidance / information beamed from somewhere through one of your eyes through another version of yourself that was dying the whole time you were talking doesn't lend itself to stability. So I imagine that there is green in your vision and at the edges and other things. It seems like even though you know that ritual is over and then that mechanism is inactive, still feels like there's something in there, like cataracts made of uranium glass. So, in that mood, tell me what kind of a cult you're going to dabble in, or ask me to tell you what kind of a cult you're dabbling in.
I think. Okay, there's two things, sort of.
All right.
And the one is generally vague, which is that something that is a show of power or magic that would, Bethany thinks, please the Red Lady in some way. Like, look, I can do this now.
Ooh, yeah.
I got you a pretty. It does this, something like that, or divining, or finding a ritual that lets Bethany control contacting the Red Lady on her own terms. Those are sort of two places. Like, she's down and out right now, but all prior communication has been from her to Bethany mostly. So I have a way to talk back or to get her a present.
I love the second idea, but I want to say that I think we need more than 0 think time on that.
Oh, yeah.
Because that is a thing. So let us try to do something that you think the Red Lady would like.
Yeah.
So would you like to tell her that you accomplished a thing or show her that you accomplished a thing? Would you like to try to create a physical result?
Oh, yeah, it's a show. Definitely.
Okay. So Have you ever read the fake Necronomicon that's floating around in the internet from since the 70s?
I have skimmed it.
Okay. It's got a lot of the you know, on black sand made only of obsidian, carve this glyph with a dagger, while it's not the same items, it's generally that vibe from your father's books.
Yeah.
It's very hermetic. Possibly loosely even Goetic, but it's lots of sigils and organized magic and that kind of thing. And so one of the things that seems the safest is a process for making a talisman that on paper says that it will protect you against the great and dark forces of those beyond.
Okay.
It feels kind of like a warding talisman sort of thing.
Right. Mm-hmm.
But if it works, that would be a look. I have made a thing and it works. And it also doesn't involve, theoretically, summoning anything with teeth.
It's true.
And also, generally, you can make it with the stuff you have around. It's not going to be the prettiest. You are not a craftsman.
No.
So,
other people do that.
Yes. So actually, what do you think? So yeah. So what do you think this ritual looks like?
I think that there's a work area that has to be prepared, and then draw the big magic circle with the symbols of this. I'm following Dad's book. I'm assuming I'm following Bethany's following Dad's book, and so very big old circle, and then a circle and symbols on the outside, and lighting candles and chanting, and trying to find all of the right things, and also trying to find all of the right things before she started, which is always funny. I think as she's lighting candles, oops, oh shit.
Yeah.
And let's see, it's a warding spell, so it's gosh.
You do not need to come up with words. It's
I got to Iron and Blood in a Mirror. That was about where I was in that. Probably a gemstone of some kind. Just thinking about stuff. And so yeah, she I think finds black filing powder, like filed iron filings that's black powdered iron filings, and spreads them out on a mirror, and there's draws glyphs around them with some gem in the center, and does chanting and waving of a knife type situation.
Absolutely.
And she feels slightly silly while doing it.
One cannot help but feel slightly silly performing an occult ritual. It is a bit much.
Is this really this seems very overly complicated to Bethany.
I think, I imagine that part of it would be that this is a great deal of remember a bunch of specific things, use them at the most specific time, and that's a lot of a system to hold in your head. Ben would certainly be challenged by a piece of hermetic magic. The one of your immediate takeaways because what we're going to do is we're going to find out how you did, and as we find out how you did, that's when Matthew's going to slip in the door.
Oh goody.
To say hello. This is actually not the worst part of your day. That you do. Yeah. Sorry, I'm in a silly mood. Um,
It's called.
yes. Yeah, laugh about it. So the thing that you notice, that a takeaway, is that clearly whoever compiled these rituals and refined them, possibly because there are some marginalia and other things. This was
Mhm.
this was a working text.
Yeah.
So there's some scribbles and some notes and some little, like, things like that in your father's hand, which
Mhm.
probably gives you a range of feelings.
Yeah.
The thing that you absolutely can tell is that these books were designed for people of affluence.
Yeah.
There is money thrown at these rituals, and it almost, based off what Bethany is learning and what Bethany knows, it seems that something that your father, and by extension the Royal Phoenix Society, has done is use their wealth and access to specialty goods and people
Hmm.
to overcome some barriers of skill. You know,
Yeah.
they can get as much gold as they want. They can get as much onyx as they want. They can whatever strikes their fancy at essentially whatever volume they wish. And so looking through some of them, you're like, I do not have 6 ounces of powdered diamond. Because
Hmm.
there are definitely some of these just like, throw a measurable percentage of the GDP at this.
Hmm.
And the other thing is, you are going to need to find a very, very no questions asked, open-minded jeweler.
Hmm.
Because there is some very fussy, fiddly engraving and metalwork in a lot of these.
Hmm.
So now roll dabbler in the occult and see how.
Oh, well, I rolled a 17 and my soul is 4.
All right, I'll take a 21.
So, yeah. Mhm.
Okay, so you do the ritual and it feels very silly. And I
Yeah.
think that probably the challenge for Bethany tonight was taking it seriously.
Hmm.
I imagine, like, it's 1957. This probably feels very Hammer Films.
Yeah.
Feels very Universal horror kind
Yeah.
of stuff. Maybe some of the more like esoteric German horror that came out between World War I and World War II. But you just can't help but feel silly in a hotel room,
Yeah.
like, well, with a tablecloth with a bunch of stuff on it. There, and you're just kind of like. So I think that the challenge for Bethany was less having the capability to do it and more approaching it serious enough.
Yeah.
However, as you do everything and you finish, the passes and the gestures and everything else, you actually watch the iron start to um like flake. There is kind of like not oxidizing, but there is certainly a process where it is breaking down
Hmm.
almost into dust. And so all of the sigils you drew in powdered iron just go, and just those little lines just sink down.
Hmm.
And there's a pause where you go, did it work? But when you reach for this, let's be clear, crudely carved amulet that Bethany did herself on short notice,
Oh, yeah.
there is an amount of something there.
Mm.
There is, you can
Mhm.
feel it. It feels like a tuning fork, where there's just something, it's waiting to be in harmony with something. It's waiting to ring. You can almost feel like the note inside it.
Mhm.
And that will add +1 to probably 1 roll per scene in a vaguely defined protect you from forces beyond mankind's ken. So
Mhm.
if we want to reach back into Lovecraft, it's a slightly low powered elders. in execution. And so, Matthew, now is the time where you would knock on the door.
Yeah, I mean, Matthew would. I'm not sure whether or not he would knock, since it's like their shared suite sort of area, but like you can hear the sound of the key, that someone's coming in basically at this point. And Matthew will come in. Do we have a reason why Clara is not with him? Or is it that she just goes straight to her room?
She might go straight to her room. It might be decided that Matthew is going to explain the situation by himself better.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah, no, like that's fine. Like, well, I'm fine to also just hand wave for now. I just wanted to make sure that there wasn't something that I wasn't aware of.
Whatever it is, it's perfectly harmless and mundane.
Yes. He's already starting to like take off his tie and his coat. Like, it's clear that he is not in the best of moods. And there's sort of a level of that sort of social exhaustion after all of that. And then sort of like mid-tie jacket taking off, he notices that there's like these sigils and like Bethany with this amulet, and he's just kind of like, am I interrupting something?
No, I just finished.
That's good.
Yeah.
Finished what?
I made an amulet. Here's Dad's book. And there's rituals in here, and I figured while you two were at dinner, I'd try one to see if they work for me.
He'll actually take off the rest of his jacket and fold it carefully, put it over the chair, and it's clear that he's kind of giving himself a moment to think of what his answer is. But there's a keen interest there. And he pauses for a moment and says, so does it?
I think so. It feels magically, and she like hands it out to him.
He will take it. And I'd actually like to look at it via magical intuition. Because that learns if something has a magical nature.
Roll the hell out of it, dude.
It's a 17 plus 3, so 20.
You're gonna make life harder for you people.
I mean, my feeling is I just used up a good roll for something that is pretty mundane.
Yeah. Remember this moment when you roll endure harm later.
Yeah,
you get 3 questions. You can put 2 in your back pocket for later, or true nature if something has a magical nature, and if the illusion is weakest.
So I'm going to use 2 of those. One is what is this of a magical nature, and 2, he's kind of checking to see whether or not what just happened weakened the illusion.
Ooh.
Because you know, he's started to have an concern about when we do things like rituals or other types of things, we accidentally sometimes create portals and get sucked into Metropolis. So, you know, there's precedent.
Yeah. Hashtag just Van Horst things.
Just Van Horst thing.
That's
Okay. Much to your select your own emotion, this is magical. Not much. Just the faintest lacquer of other on it. But like I said to her, there's almost a sense like you want to ring it like china. There's a sense like that's kind of the vibe you get from it, and that there's a resonance in it. And I think probably I like the way I'm describing it. The way it feels is the way if you pick up a tuning fork or a very beautifully made handbell, or just you pick it up and just interacting with it gives you a sense that this will create a tone. If struck, you get that. Kind of like there's a tiny little sliver of music in it.
It's clear that Matthew, like when he's holding it, has that urge to do the flick. But I'm trying to decide whether or not he actually does. And I think that the answer to that is did this weaken the illusion?
Actually, no.
Okay.
There seems to be no weakening of the illusion in the area, aside from the fact that the illusion is imperfect. Yeah. So you can triangulate, like there's the proving grounds, because it always feels like there's a slight raggedy distant forest fire feeling over there, and that kind of thing. But in turn, there's the howling cannibal desert. Let's also not forget that genteel pastoral landscape. So there's always that's just kind of sitting outside drooling. But did Bethany make a hole in the illusion? Not tonight.
Yay. Then I think that he does go to kind of like look at similarly delicately to what you would do to China. He does, but he telegraphs it. And I say this because I want to give Bethany time to stop him if she wants to, because he is purposely telegraphing.
Unless there is something in the notes of the ritual about the flicking of the thing, go for it.
Yeah, then he does, because it's clear that there's like that sort of hunger for knowledge that like Bethany has seen starting to grow in Matthew, like is definitely part of like this.
Okay. Just for curiosity's sake, Matthew, which hand do you ring this amulet with?
I think he's holding it in his left and flicking it with his right, and his right is the non-Metropolis hand. It's the human hand.
Okay.
The human thingies.
So it's just, you ring it just like China, and both of you do hear in a sense like synesthesia. It is a thing that you do not have really a sense for, but your mind translates into music. And it is a nice, beautiful, crystal clear note. And if there's anything, Bethany, that tells you that it worked right, it is that sound, because that's a nice, clean sound. And now, upon consideration, there is a very small, very poorly drawn little scribble in the corner of the page that makes sense. It was a hasty, a little piece of bar with a note on it, but it was clearly drawn like very quickly, very lazily, kind of like a personal piece of shorthand. And you are almost entirely certain that on a well-tuned piano, you'd have a check note.
This is beautiful.
I mean, it isn't, but
I mean, visually it's not, but the sound.
Yes, sounds good.
Visually, we all know that I'm not going to lie to you about that.
Oh, yeah.
He will hand it back to her, And there's definitely this sort of sense of like pleasure and pride there. I'm always fascinated by how quickly you're able to pick these things up.
Well, this one at least was following instructions, and it seemed to work. I admit I hadn't tried really the rituals before because they seemed silly. They are silly, but it worked. So it still worked.
We've done stranger things as long as they worked.
Mm-hmm.
Thinking back to the night that you found your father's laboratory,
Yeah.
magic room, there is no comfortable word. They're either too silly or incorrect. Workspace sounds neutral.
Mm-hmm.
That you can absolutely imagine that these things might hit differently in the correct environment, or at least the theatrics would match the room.
Yeah.
You know, you can easily imagine your father with his, high shock of white hair pulled back into a ponytail, probably wearing a ridiculous robe or something like that, with his deep basso voice doing some hand passes and chanting with a dagger. You can see it.
Yeah.
Like, you can absolutely paint that mental picture instantly.
Mm-hmm.
He'll walk over
Mm-hmm.
and pour himself some whiskey. He'll also gesture to see whether or not there's anything that Bethany wants.
Bethany will join him in the drink after skimming through the notes to see if there's like any cleanup instructions.
No.
Then she's just gonna like sort of scrub out some of the like bigger circle that she was standing in with like the heel of her foot.
Okay.
Whatever. And very sort of idly over the next little bit, mess it up enough so that it looks dirty, but it doesn't look like someone was drawing like an occultist magic circle in the middle of the room.
Yeah. Let's not incite the satanic panic 30 years early.
Yeah. Like, I don't know. It's basically if Dead Jimmy isn't the one cleaning the room, what are they going to think? And if Dead Jimmy is the one cleaning the room, who is he going to tell what I was doing?
Yeah.
Right. I mean, let's be clear. Let's be really honest for a minute. The Van Horsts have become the cryptids of the cleaning staff of the Tropicana. You guys are the inexplicable events.
Yeah.
In the
That's
hotel
not
right
wrong.
I just want to say, like, this time at least, when they went out to dinner and left Bethany alone, and she did a magic thing, she was both still in the hotel room, and there wasn't like a giant burned out tub.
Yeah, actually, a lot of Matthew's mood is just the fact that he came back, saw that Bethany was doing magic, but it wasn't destructive. He's like, this is great. What progress we've made. He will take a seat and say, because I think that like you knew where we were going.
Yeah.
I assume. I have good news and I have bad news.
Oh.
From my read on them, the Westsmiths, as much as they have their issues, are likely to be willing to follow our lead and give us the information and allyship that we need. The bad news is that does mean that they have to be alive for that to happen. As much as Albert seems increasingly obsessed with Clara, and his wife seems increasingly upset with the fact that he's obsessed with Clara. Really, she's the one who I'd rather be negotiating with, but we have to go through him to get to her.
And we can't just point out to her that if we could just negotiate with her, he wouldn't be able to see Clara.
It's a possibility, but the power still rests with him. As much as I know that she's the smarter of the two.
Mm-hmm.
The problem that we have, other than them, their own proclivities, is they're getting cut out of the Phoenix Society themselves. There was a meeting that they were not invited to, that they didn't know they weren't invited to. And it was being held by Andrew Wright Donahue, who happens to be Bertrand Wright's brother. And it has become very clear that Andrew fully understands that they have been talking to us in a friendly enough manner that if they weren't already getting cut out, they would start being so very soon. The good thing is that at least this makes them desperate.
It's true.
Their information and knowledge is more likely to be able to go into our hands the more desperate they are. It just means that they're going to have less power and influence to be able to bring to bear.
They are also more likely to give us accurate information if they want us to use it against their enemies.
It's true. Though we're also going to have to be careful that their enemies don't kill them so that doesn't happen. Which we're seeing is a very possible problem.
Mm-hmm.
I did not expect that this would lead to us needing to protect them.
I did just make a very ugly protection amulet.
Well, that's at least a happy coincidence. Learning how to protect ourselves, and I guess maybe others, is certainly something that we might want to start doing more and more, especially seeing the sort of long distance attacks we've been having.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, originally I was going to want to see if, I don't know, if you thought maybe Clara should have it.
Well, I mean, what I'd say that Clara should have this, and then when we make a better one, we switch out the one that's better to Clara and give the less good one to people that we need to protect who aren't Clara.
Seems reasonable.
An upgrade.
Well, look at the instructions. You have to like carve all of these little tiny things into like. I am not a jeweler.
He'll take the book and look over it a little bit, and like, there's that moment where he's like, "Could I do something like this?" And he's like, "I could not do better than Bethany with what this is. I'm not a carver either." He's like, "Whatever we make is just going to inherently going to be ugly."
I think that you can get someone else to like do the carving bits. We just have to do the magic part.
Like, oh, that makes this much easier.
Part. Like, this is all just parts. This is magic by assembly line.
Oh, I like that.
You need all of the items and they all line up and you do the things in the correct like order, and
so
you have a thing at the end. Parts of it, all the parts that we don't want to make that seem ugly. Yes, that we just get if we get all the parts to look pretty and then we put it together magically, then we've done the magic part and then it would look nicer.
I think that works also because it's going to make it more precise, won't it?
Possibly, if the carver copies the carvings correctly and we know exactly what they mean.
Worth a try.
Yeah.
Matthew, well, first of all, I'd like to make sure that we're setting expectations within reach. Hiring someone to make the physical doodads, okay, perfect, I love it, we'll have a fun time with it. We are not going to end up with a production line of magical equipment.
No.
Okay, that's fine.
This is him thinking about the future as well. Like, it's not just like within the time frame of our story here, but like it's clear that like percolating in his head is the idea of magic by assembly line and how fantastic that idea is.
Not trademark.
So he's just very like, but no, I understand that like he likes the idea of outsourcing because he also is rich and that's what they do. He's like, the hard part I outsource, then we do the magic part ourselves.
Absolutely. Like, honestly, with your access to metals, like to material science in the time, you know that you can get not only can you get whatever dumbass wackadoodle alloy the book calls for, you also essentially own that person's life. So it's not like what are they gonna do? Who are they gonna tell?
Yeah.
You know, the boss asked for a disc of some weirdo bronze alloy exactly this big. What newspaper is going to run that story?
Yep.
And then you take it to a jeweler and you say, here is the pattern, here is the object. I need this to be on here with a master's degree of precision and quality.
Yeah.
You know? And as you think about that, and you guys can share this realization for a minute. As you think about that and consider it, and you think about the people that you know in Pittsburgh, those your father's Rolodex,
yeah,
or probably not Rolodex, you know, his address book, his contacts, and you think about it and you go, this is exactly how Dad made his tie pin. This is this.
Yeah.
So I feel like more and more things are pointing us back home.
I think so.
At least somewhat.
Eventually.
Yeah.
Eventually.
Claire still has to set up her show.
Yes.
But maybe there's a way. I know she wants to do it so that, you know, it's about her, because she's Clara, and of course she does. But if we like use this, and she holds up Dad's book again, and can find a thing about like channeling power or holding power or something, and like work it into the show, like work a ritual about it into the show, or have it be in the set pieces, or have it be in some of all of those parts, then even if Clara's not here once the show is running,
We'll still channel into her.
yeah, if she's the focus, if we can figure out how to do it, and we talk to her in the choreography, and it's, I'm sure, better if she's closer and like the face and gets to like personally interact into that. But I don't see why we can't put in like a magical net like underneath that part that helps her. Because there's a lot of like wave a thing, do and felt very dance moves in Vegas for like a little bit there.
No, I think it works. We just need to find the right set of instructions.
We do.
Well,
And I mean, we have to try things and start small and try a ritual that sort of does the thing we want, and then, expand it, and then try working it into the show somehow, and then have a like, it needs to be like a magical dress rehearsal. Like,
that's one way of putting it.
we have to find out if it works before it's set forever in the show.
I mean, I think that's where it would work. The dress rehearsals,
right?
it's the best way of trying, because it can change after that, I think.
Clara and Erica would have a lot to say on it, but I feel confident saying that the number of times that Clara has complained about choreography changes at the last minute, that a little bit of tweaking isn't gonna make anybody raise any eyebrows.
Yeah, you can change the show up through.
Of course, too. My
I
apologies.
do. It's okay. I'm trying to remember. It's usually up to press, and then it's locked. So previews, it can change like through previews, but once it opens, and it's set.
Okay.
I know that you're able to draw energy from people, but we don't want that kind of drawing energy. But there might. Have you seen anything in these that looks similar to what we're looking for?
It's gotta be in here. Think about what Dad and the Phoenix Society did.
Oh, I'm sure it's somewhere.
It's not. I haven't seen anything specific yet, but here, and she pulls out another book things and hands one to Matthew and be like, we can either let's look for something, and also if we don't see it, if you want to try to do a ritual, if you see one that you like, I could try to help you, and you could try to do one, because it really is following instructions.
I'm willing to at least try.
And it might work, it might not. I might have to do the wavy chanty bits. I don't know how this works yet.
The other thing to consider when asking about the consumption of souls and the manipulation thereof is that at the end of the day, your father was a moral man. He did have his boundaries and his limits. A large portion of why your life is the way it is because he refused to kill you when the Phoenix Society decided you were failed experiments.
Yeah.
And to try again later. So it would not surprise you if other crueler members of the Phoenix Society, current or former, might have some more
Nastier.
cruelly intent, cruelly considered magics and books, not Cruel Intentions, different movie.
Very. Not that different.
there's certainly like a part of why Matthew's also curious about these books as well with it, though, is that, as he mentioned, there's what happens with Bethany, but we're not necessarily looking for that. We're looking for something that's a little bit less noticeable, a little bit more sustainable for helping channel things into Clara, because for her, we need something where, like, if you do a review show where everyone drops dead afterwards or goes insane afterwards, well, that's a problem. That's not gonna have a lot of repeat stuff. So, like, that's why he's like, maybe there's something that she can use that's different, but it's still energy. But Matthew is here for sitting down and looking through some books for a bit. And there's sort of a flashback of sorts to their childhood when they were the only ones in the house and they would huddle up and be, little nerds together. Like, reading together and just kind of having that sort of camaraderie and closeness that I think this kind of flashes back for them for.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
So you guys are going to sit down and kind of page through Papa's books together and have a little study session. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
How about both of you then? Actually, I was going to give this to one of you already because it is appropriate. And so let me find it. So there is another advantage called a KULT library, which feels very on brand at the moment. And that one is a plus reason. So how about both of you roll plus reason?
Okay. What is my reason?
Oh.
I got 11.
Okay.
Great.
I got a 10.
It's not a 9.
Not a 9.
All right. So both of you get to ask the GM one question from the list below. It's not a great list, but it'll give you something to start with. Right out of the book, the questions are: which higher power does this have connections to? What do I need or need to do to exercise or control this being? That's a fun answer to get. What dimension is this associated with, and what must I do to protect myself from this? So there is an amount of lore information in here. And there is also some amount of magic, but it is very much the small stuff. The can't do it tonight thing that actually probably draws both of you together after a little bit of montage is an uncomfortably familiar spell, which is the binding of creatures.
Yeah.
Yeah. And to put an absolutely very fine point on it, this one is actually called to the acquisition and subjugation of the Osgul. And it requires a great deal more work. It actually requires an amount of items from Metropolis. It requires a vastly complicated permanent fixturing for magic. This is not stuff you can draw on the floor. You actually have to put this shit in the floor.
Yeah.
And other things. And there's a lot of eat no meat for 1 week and do no this and cleanse your body and have it be free of oils and salts and unguents, and that it's that level of effort.
Mm-hmm.
It's so I guess my question would be, if he's looking through things and there's like the one question, are there any things in the books that are about control that are not just subjugation, like complete subjugation and taking of free will? Or is it basically like full on, slavery or bust?
Before I answer that question, I'm going to take a minute, step back, and say the views presented in this book are not Ben's views on free will. and that this is the book of a bad man who was part of the most colonialist version of the Masons possible. They were awful kidnappers, slavers, abusers, and other things. So that is where this is coming from.
Oh, totally.
From this text, from these references, the way it is written, it feels like a dangerously, hideously, cruelly lazy thing, because essentially they're saying conditioning takes nuance, fuck nuance. Yeah, conditioning takes nuance, fuck nuance. And so a lot of it is, absolutely how to break the will. However, there is reference, regrettably, but not the full script of there's a book that is kind of like the theories and practices of the Royal Phoenix Society. So it's got a lot of these and thous in it. It is clearly a book copied from an older book. I reference you to whatever Freemason text, at least in vibe, not in literature, that, if you imagine the occult version, the goofy occult version of the Freemasons, that's what the Phoenix Society worked like. So, not real ones, goofy ones, or conspiracy theory not grounded ones. So it's upon the receipt of, the sigil of this, invoke the rituals of, invoke the ritual of knighthood 3 times in the same night, that kind of thing. So it's kind of, there's very much this things like that. And so, but a lot of it is like, it almost feels like it's not even magic.
Yeah.
It feels, what's the word? Mummery. It feels like a lot of mummery and pageantry, and just like, we're doing all of this stuff to give everything a mystical vibe, because nothing keeps secrets as well as pretend magic, with the exception occasionally of real magic. However, later on in this procedures, in this book of procedures, there is a note, and this is the thing that fish hooks you, is no servant who has not been sworn upon the blade and sigil of service should be allowed around this ritual. Essentially, like, there are only servants who have experienced this magical event or this magical act should be allowed in the room during this extremely secret and arguably important ritual. And that is such a clear notation that if I may continue describing, it does get you going through the books with different things in mind, because, flipping through it, seeing what you can see, and looking for a set name is a different kind of search. And what you find, perhaps unsatisfyingly, a bit heartbreakingly and uncomfortably, is the notations of Malice Van Horst on this ritual being done with the Major Domo. And that there was actually a extremely unpleasant process of the Major Domo willingly undergoing the process of breaking his original oath and re-swearing to Malice Van Horst as an individual. And so you can reverse engineer you have a bunch of really, really good specific questions now.
Yeah.
But you have also, you know more about how to reverse engineer this oath than you know how to make it.
Yeah.
But there's like, we buffered with this, we use this glyph of a word with mostly consonants and apostrophes in it, you know, to redirect this energy and to move this around and to do this sort of shenanigan. So however, you are almost entirely certain that the Westsmiths would have this ritual. This feels so core to the way the Royal Phoenix Society works.
Yeah. No, like he'll point that out to Bethany. And I think you also have a question as well.
Oh yeah, I do have a question about it. What were the list of questions again?
Oh, sure. They're not really relevant because at this point, yeah, a cult library seems to be very focused. Like, you need to know what thing you're going after and then ask questions.
That makes sense.
Just rolling off a vibe isn't really where those questions work best. So just
that's fine.
Ask a question and we'll roll with it.
Okay. I think what Bethany wants to start looking for instead, and like how once Matthew says, you know, the Westmorelands are the kind of people who'd have the original version of the ritual, she wants to start looking for rituals that are mentioned in Dad's books but are not described.
Oh, that's a great idea.
Looking for the bad stuff.
Yes.
By reference only. But that's what she wants to do, is just start looking for like what potentially what Papa what was sort of, you know, beyond the pale for him. It was important to know about it and make note of it, but like where was his moral line and what was beyond the pale? And also, yeah, if he did things then that were like protected against it or shifted it the way that he did for St. John's re-swearing, because again, Bethany isn't necessarily interested in doing what the Royal Phoenix Society does, but she wants to know what they're capable of, and also she wants to know how to change that magic, because the magic that they have is probably closer to what the siblings need, but it's not going to be useful in the way that it is. But now she knows, because Papa did it, that one, you can change their rituals, and two, that there are things that he doesn't have in here because he wouldn't do them. So those are the things that she is looking for.
Yes, and to be clear, the thing that your father did to have St. John break that oath and not die screaming from it is a doctorate. It's a doctoral thesis of magic.
Yeah.
And as you guys look at that page a little bit more, you actually see at the bottom of the page a couple of like bloody half fingerprints.
Mm-hmm.
And Matthew, if you spread your hands out with them being very close to your adopted father's size, you can almost imagine him putting a bloody hand on the bottom of these pages to hold this book open while he referenced something.
Mm-hmm.
There are a lot of rituals. Okay. The ones that make Matthew sit up and take interest, there is an entire series of rituals related to, and this makes sense upon consideration, related to deriving magical power from wealth,
Mm-hmm.
not money. This is not burn a stack of money magic. This is a careful, decades-long procedure of binding magical intent into the things you own and creating investments and banks and things like that, and essentially creating a virtual sigil made out of the movement of your money and your wealth. And you can't do it today, but damn, do you want to find the rest of it?
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
That's an oh boy. The ones that Bethany, so that's something that you want to find, and that will either be with the Westmiths or possibly it might be at home. It's becoming generally clear to at least me that at some point we are going to shift from Las Vegas back to Pittsburgh, which I'm entirely content with, and we're not doing it right now. Curtis, it's okay. Breathe. So that's the thing that the first takeaway for Matthew. One of the takeaways for Bethany is that because you've got a little bit more experience reading the way your dad writes things
Mm-hmm.
in these books, you recognize that the things that are defensive
Mm-hmm.
are all against physical things.
Mm-hmm.
So it's and all of the spell names and the chapters and the various, on the forces, on the forces infernal and their various ways and means of poisoning the mind. Like that's the kind of like Protestant, so they've got the F's instead of S's and that kind of that format. The rest of the book is written in modern English with modern not typeface, but written. But it seems like all of the titles are emulating an older book. So it almost makes you think that Papa Mao wrote the titles down in the exact way he would want to look for them.
Yeah.
And then got the actionable information into modern, easily readable print.
Mm-hmm.
Because this is, Matthew, you recognize it. Bethany, you recognize it too. But to Matthew, this print might have a little bit of extra meaning because it's a machinist's hand. It's that perfect block print that he has always had. It is, you have read millions of words in this print. You have seen millions of numbers in this print and all of the ledgers and all of the things. And when you went through his office and when you went through his desk at work, this was the print. Like,
yeah, he's having some feels.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Bethany, there was more than 0 notes slipped under your door saying things like, some of them were very simple, like, there will be a carpenter here at 2 o'clock to do repairs. I am sorry, they will have to be loud. And then there are other ones that are less tender but equally but loving. Essentially, Bethany, I need you to come out of your room and clean up and let me know you're alive, please. And then the couple that float to your mind, because there are a couple spots where he puts some flourishes and it almost looks like he was being silly or maybe kind of doodling a little bit. You know, as you write these long pages of text, you do tend to put little to shake your hand out. And there was one that you remember from when you are very young. And he does not have, Miles Van Horst did not have a calligrapher's hand. He did, however, have an entire lifetime of living at a level of affluence that showed him a lot of fancy writing. And so when he wrote this, he used all of the curly cues and flourishes, but they're all very awkward and a little twitchy. But it says, to one Bethany Van Horst, you are cordially invited to a tea party, like cucumber sandwiches and grilled cheeses shall be provided. And it was one of his very few but heartfelt attempts to reach you from wherever you were. And regrettably, that those kinds of things stopped far too early, and probably about the same time that he turned his back on the Phoenix Society, because he was never the same after that.
Yeah.
But all right, we're all gonna have feelings about a not real person for a minute, apparently.
Yeah.
I mean,
yeah.
I feel like this turns into kind of like a little bit of a feelings jam with like Matthew and Bethany, because they have a lot of complicated fucking feelings.
They do.
About Miles Van Horst. And I just get this image of the two of them like sitting on the couch, like almost back to back. Like Matthew's kicked off his shoes, like they're like, you know, that sort of thing where you like press your feet against the arm of the couch and like leaning up against the other person. They're just like reading and they're like making commentary about like different things that they're finding and things like that. I feel like that's a very sort of, that's like where they're at this moment. It's a very sort of sibling vibe, because, you know, Bethany is in this situation, though she is one of two middle childs, but like, you know, in the context of the Bethany, Clara, Matthew situation, she's the middle one.
Yeah.
And so she's got this very specific sort of relationship with Clara as the oldest sibling, but also a very specific sort of relationship with Matthew as the youngest sibling, because she's closest to both of them in age.
Yeah.
So I personally feel like this is a good place for break. But yes. I don't know if you guys feel the same.
I was actually thinking to myself that I was going to let you two run out of feelings and words on this subject, and then we were going to take a break and have feelings off camera about it.
Yeah.
Basically.
So, ladies and gentlemen, thank you for coming to the Place of Wrath and Tears, where we always unexpectedly make you feel things and call your therapist. We will be back in about 10 minutes, a little bit before 9:30, and then we will see what happens next. So, see you in a minute. Hello, welcome back to the Place of Wrath and Tears. We enjoyed our feelings, and now we're going to have some actions. So, placing the Van Horsts back in their context, these two siblings back to back, feet up on the couch, very kind of an eternal, a timeless sort of posture. And reading some things, maybe having a moment talking about their father. And then there is a distinct knock at the door. The thing about dead Jimmy is that he's a little scared of everything, specifically most scared of the Van Horsts. Because he's seen you too many places.
I feel like it's understandable.
Yeah. So when he knocks, it's this very interesting, like a crescendo, because he starts knocking the air and then slowly gets closer to the door and gets it louder. Like he has to psych himself up to make contact. So you hear that kind of like knock, 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 knock. that is dead Jimmy. The bellhop, an occasional pool boy.
Matthew looks surprised and like looks at his watch. He's like, okay. And he'll put the book down and slip into his shoes. Not gonna answer the door. Socks.
Okay.
And goes over to answer the door.
All right. It is our favorite zombie, Dead Jimmy, looking exactly like he has almost every time you've seen him, with the exception of the time he was at Mac's house, in his Tropicana uniform, and he is holding in his hands a full bottle of champagne in the little bucket of ice. And around the neck is tied a handwritten note that says, "To the Van Horsts," on it. And Jimmy, always an anxious lad, he died worried, so he got stuck that way. Holds it out and says, the floor boss, Mac, wanted me, this compliments of him.
He'll take it and just kind of look at dead Jimmy with an expression that says, "I'd love for you to explain more."
It's not a trap. It's just champagne. I got it myself. It's just champagne. It's champagne in a note, which is a perfectly normal thing for a person to have me bring to a perfectly normal room. Very normal. Everything is fine.
Matthew will, as usual, reach into his pocket and pull out a tip.
Okay.
And give it to dead Jimmy. And like press it into his little palm, wrap his little fingers around it because he's so scared. He's like, "Don't drop it."
Yes. His hand is shaking like a startled mouse. It's all micro twitches, the poor thing.
Bless him. Thank you, Jimmy.
Thank you. See you later.
Mm-hmm.
Enjoy your night. And he just worries his way down the hallway.
He'll close the door and turn around. So the floor boss sent us champagne.
I didn't think Claire had been down to the floor recently.
Maybe she has.
Okay.
You will place it down and look at the note.
It's Mac, unlike your father, Mac has this beautiful, soft, kind of organic handwriting. It's not quite cursive, it's that spot in between, and if you imagine the way his hand moves, it's very, shocking no one, almost languid. in the way you imagine him holding a pen and writing it. It says, "Dear Van Horsts, noticed you were gone. Noticed you're back. Please come see me. I'd like to speak with you. I'll be on the floor all night. Mac."
Matthew will pass the note over to Bethany so that she can read it. And then just raise an eyebrow to her. Looks like we have an invitation.
We do.
I'm not especially sure why.
No, me neither.
I promise I won't get another pinky cut off.
Okay, because I mean, I don't think I have any Metropolis metal to make you a whole other hand, because the last time you lost a pinky, you came back with a missing hand at some point, and that...
I don't feel like that was related.
Not to you, but to me. I was attempting, to make you a pinky. And then you showed up and you were missing a lot more than a pinky.
Well, that's fair. I will be very careful.
I'm saying I don't have anything right now to make replacement body parts for you.
I don't really want more body parts to be replaced, so I think we're on the same page there.
Okay. Okay.
On the community to-do list, I do want to come up with a slicker name than Metropolis metal. We need to figure out some
M&M.
Well, like, Horstium or something.
Yeah.
Horstium. Bless.
Oh, God.
All right.
Now, Bethany, you are very well known for your sixth sense.
Yes.
And maybe that is something we could see if it is giving us any warnings right now.
Oh, yeah. I didn't roll that at all. I probably should.
I totally forgot until just now.
Maybe I'm this time.
We're all people.
I rolled a 4.
You don't know nothing.
Don't know nothing. I get to add stuff to it, but I don't think that's enough to fix it.
That gets you up to 8, right?
Yeah, because 6 senses plus soul, yeah?
Yeah.
Yeah, that gets me to 8. That does not, I don't think there's anything else you add to it.
No. All right, well, let me take a moment and look up what happens when you do it super wrong.
Yeah, because I didn't make long notes about that on my sheet.
Cool. Love that for you.
Oh, right. I get something really wrong.
Yes.
That's what.
Oh, no.
Right now, nothing's worrying you.
Yeah, I just did a magic. We're looking up stuff in books. Mac wants to talk to us for reasons unknown, but at least he sent champagne this time and not weird curse things.
It would be weird to send champagne for a trap.
I mean, how good is the champagne?
As good as it can be. It is the top of the stock. Like, this is the brand. Ben, a plebe, doesn't know them. But this is the brand that, like, Matthew would order, making a deal with many zeros and commas in it. This is the, like, we are celebrating.
Yeah.
I do want to say that I feel like the ultimate way of, like, baiting a trap, you had, like, a little box and the stick and a string. For the Van Horst is, in fact, to just put some alcohol in. Like, whoosh.
This is why I was like, okay, how good is the champagne? Because if it's the absolute best, if it's a trap, it's going to go really fast so that we don't even have time to open the bottle. But he's left us alone so we can open the bottle, which means he's not getting it back. It's probably not a trap.
Let's go with that.
Sure.
Matthew will rely on his sister's really good intuition, because she always has really good intuition, to know whether or not this is a trap. He's
Right.
concerned, but he's also going to. He's like, Bethany would know.
I just did a quick Google of like the 10 most expensive champagne bottles in the world, and I refuse to consider those numbers any longer.
Yeah.
Because they're silly.
There's
Yeah,
not
it hurts
real.
my soul.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So Matthew will slip back on his coat. He'll leave off the tie.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, this is a little relaxed. And will reach out a hand to help up Bethany from the couch.
Yeah. Bethany will put on her shoes and do whatever straightening to be presentable is required. But will, in the meantime of her getting ready, which doesn't take as long as Clara getting ready, but she is still a girl in the 50s, so it's going to take her a minute.
It's pretty late in the evening. Like, that dinner was a late dinner. And you've come home and talked for a little bit. And so it's
still getting, not like dulled, just like I can leave the house.
Yes.
Situationed. And asked Matthew to open the champagne since we have a gift.
Oh, you don't have to ask.
I'm hoping there's there so I can drink it while I'm getting ready and then go see with probably the second one in my hand.
Yeah, no, he'll pour some. He'll make sure that Clara gets some.
Yeah,
he'll make sure that we all have it, and we'll enjoy it.
And then go see Mac. I've done nothing to make him angry.
The bottle is the thick greenish glass that champagne comes in, and when Matthew pours it, just by virtue of the moment, light shines through it and does a little bit of that diffuse light. And Bethany, to your eyes, you can almost see the sprinkles of that light pour out. And you feel like you're holding something fissionable in your hand. There is the bubbles, you can feel them. You shouldn't be able to feel them, but you are entirely certain that you can feel the bubbles forming on the side of the glass. And there's a piece of you that is whispering in the back of your head that just says, this is what it feels like when atoms split. And the shitty part is you know that's so over dramatic that you know it is absolutely your own madness howling in your ear. But you still can't make it stop.
No, yeah. And she's not gonna do it to her own champagne because that's a terrible waste. But if there's a random person with a random glass of champagne, she is absolutely going to, just to see what would happen if she can, telekinetically split the bubbles apart in somebody else's glass.
Sure, fuck it, why not? Roll soul.
I'm just saying.
Entertain my whimsy.
Good idea. It's a terrible impulse, and this is where she is right now. She did a magic and it worked, and now she has some alcohol about it. And that is an 11 plus 4 is 15.
You, a tiny, cute, crazy Moses, managed to push the carbonation in someone else's glass, very slightly apart. And the part that really gives you a feeling you may select that feeling of your own, is that, oh, of course, carbonation occurs at a point of contact, and you can actually see the place, the plane of thought, because the carbonation is now coming off of that thing. And Bethany, it is all very well and good and really fun and cute and interesting and slightly drunk until you realize you can feel the carbonation from those contact points, like in your throat and under your jaw, like the spot where too much salt hurts. It is now effervescent. Which I would not wish on my worst enemy, and I'm sorry that I thought of it for you. But it fades as your concentration fades, thankfully.
That's good. It's very weird to just sit there and think my bones are tingling, but that is in fact how she felt, so good job.
How are your ankles?
Fine. Not going to any gardens yet.
Yes. And so and thusly, a couple of questions. You know, you see another dealer. Hey, where's Mac right now? He's in the high rollers room, of course. And sticking your nose in at least to the high rollers room, there is Mac, resplendent in his beautiful black suit with his vest that we now know is made of human leather, and his matching pocket square, and his dark complexion and his wide smile and his immaculate grooming, and just kind of the word that comes to mind is like the wrong word, but I want to say like voluptuous, but that's not the right word. Like what is voluptuous in a masculine term? Decadent. We'll just use decadent. It's close enough. I'll play word games later. He exudes, as always, a decadence where just everything he does is a joy, or at the very least a pleasure. And so he's talking with someone and they laugh, and he shares a laugh, and he sees you too, and he gives you and it's totally smooth, totally fine. Hey, I see you. I invited you here. I'll be with you in just a moment. That wave and facial expression that is very calm. You can attempt to read a person if you'd like to, if you feel like this might still be a trap, or at least something untoward.
I'm interested in reading a person, not because necessarily I think it's a trap, but because of the fact that I want to know where he's at almost.
Okay.
Because last time we interacted, Matthew finds him hard to read generally.
Yes.
He has a very different kind of mentality than Matthew has.
Yes. So it's plus intuition.
Okay. Well, that was a shit roll.
Matthew.
Let me see if my intuition will bump me up. Okay, I rolled. Not enough.
Oh no! What'd you roll?
I rolled a 7, and my intuition. Remember how I was like, "That's such a good roll," and then I was like, "Gonna mess it up later."
Yep.
I accidentally reveal my own intentions to the person that I'm trying to read.
Okay. I absolutely have faith in your role-playing ability to put your foot in your own mouth.
Thank you. I appreciate it.
Hey, you know what? Fucking up on purpose is hard.
I appreciate it.
Like, everybody can XCOM, but it's hard to do it wrong. And so after a brief conversation and like a shoulder slap, he is a creature that manages extremely rich and powerful people. And so he has that vibe of just like, yes, you're fantastically powerful, yes, you're incredibly cool, I am just delighted to be breathing the same air as you. Isn't this just a grand time? I exist purely to bring you entertainment and joy. You know, ignore the fact that the casino's here to make money. We're here for you tonight. And then he finishes that conversation, slaps a shoulder, shakes another hand on the way past, gives like a talk to you later sort of finger wag as he walks past and comes out rubbing his hands together, just grinning, smiling, warm, seductive were one inclined to be seduced by Mac. It says, "Welcome back."
Thank you for the champagne.
You're very welcome.
Perhaps you could tell us what we're celebrating.
Let's have a seat and talk about it.
Of course.
So, I mean, he's one of the highest, he's one of the highest, highest ranking employees of the hotel. So when he raises an eyebrow at the maitre d' of one of the restaurants, a table is clear. And he sits down with you two, providing nothing interrupts, as always. And he orders another round of what are you having? What are you having? What would you like? He gets something with rum. It's kind of something dark and sweet.
Matthew gets a Manhattan.
Okay.
Bethany gets a French 75.
Lovely. So while the drinks are ordered, he says, "Well, I like to keep tabs on all of our distinguished guests. And let us not argue that the Van Horsts are distinguished people. Regardless of brief moments of audacity in the past, you are a family of wealth and notoriety. And of course, I keep tabs on you. You can't really blame me for that, can I? And so when I realized that you were gone for a few days, I wondered, I worried. And then when I found out that your manservant had an unfortunate afternoon, I realized that possibly maybe you were a bit further away than I thought you were. Possibly maybe not camping or whatever else you had chosen to do for a few days. And yes?
Well, Bethany's looking extremely confused about the idea of going camping.
Yes.
An unfortunate afternoon.
Your manservant is exceptionally dedicated. Impressively dedicated. Arguably, at times, terrifyingly dedicated.
I would say he's just dedicated enough. He
had a strong territorial response when housekeeping came into your suite to clean.
Well,
it's fine. We have other housekeepers.
I appreciate your understanding.
Honestly, aside from the incident in the bathtub, in terms of high value guests, you have actually been generally low effort. You wouldn't believe what I've had to sneak out the back doors of this place for people.
I'm flattered.
The Kennedys alone. Anyway.
So you're celebrating our return.
I am welcoming you back. And to be honest, there has been a tangible shift in your selves. You've had experiences, I guess. You've learned some things, maybe. Had a few, dare we be so gauche to say, awakenings.
I suppose you could say something of the sort.
Matthew Van Horst, when we gambled, I could tell that you were on the cusp of something. I could see that you all saw a little bit more than you intended to, and I did notice exactly what shape those ladies went home, or, well, went away in. No troubles, no problems. It's what they're for. But it's clear there's been a refinement. And then, whatever you did tonight, whatever that low C was.
Because of the fact that Matthew super botched his read a person, when he says that, he looks at Bethany. Like, he can't help but like look at Bethany. Like, I got a really low number, y'all.
The full Jim Belushi eye and head roll.
Like, oh no. And like, there's definitely that moment of like when you try to stop yourself when you do that too, like where you like start to look over and you're like, fuck. I know this well because this is me in real life.
All right. And Bethany, as your brother, absolutely like an 8-year-old child, looks at you.
Bethany is like, blink, like what?
I'm too cute to do magic. Whatever do you mean?
No.
Mac actually, he's smooth, he's suave, but there is a moment where he just kind of like stares in absolute shock at what Matthew did at the giveaway.
I mean, it's that sort of thing where like Matthew is also in absolute shock at what he did. Like that sort of thing of like, he's just it's a man who's been through a lot. He's tired.
Oh yeah.
Sometimes you just fuck up. And there's that moment of just like, sometimes you just fuck up. He moves forward as much as he can, as quickly as he can.
Mm-hmm.
What have you been up to while we've been gone?
Sandra, Stephen, Michael, Cassandra again, Cassandra's sister. Did we? Oh, that's not what we were. Fine. Sorry. I work here. This isn't my vacation. I maintain the high rollers. I make sure they're enjoying themselves as much as they possibly can. I provide whatever necessary perks, and one could be so bold as to say bribes are necessary to ensure that those of the appropriate affluents are here and satisfied and happy and continue to come back and lose all of their money. The casino cares for them losing the money. I just care that they return.
Things are going better now that there aren't any people coming in with numbers.
Honestly, yes. It's been delightful. I just want things to be true. That's all. I am very protective of the sanctity of chance.
That's something I understand.
Yes. And tell me, Mr. Van Horst, how much dice do you play with the stock market?
There's always going to be an element of gambling there. You just have to know where to go.
Yes, but do you truly gamble? Or are you fold unless you've got two pair at the start kind of people?
If you don't diversify a portfolio, you're not going to have any. You have to be able to do both to actually make it.
Change the strategy to meet the moment. Respectable.
You have to. If you only play conservatively, you're not going to actually make them out.
That's true. There's a couple gentlemen that come in here, and they're very... It takes about 2 days to get them to loosen up, because they'll come in and they'll be very serious, acting like the money in their back pocket is in any way, shape, or form affecting them financially. And so it takes a couple of days and an amazing amount of booze and occasionally a hooker to get them to loosen up enough to actually start spending money. But once they forget that once they remember that sometimes the loss is as fun as the gain, then they're there all day.
That's where we differ.
Mr. Van Horst, you are not me and I am not you.
Losing isn't something that I'm ever going to be comfortable with.
I understand that. You are here to win. I'm here to play and drink and fuck and sing and dance.
Their own, then.
Mm-hmm. I won't lie. I'm a bit biased towards my own, their own.
I could say the same.
Very good. Now, in a brief moment of seriousness, I'd like to ask you if I'd love to hear any stories about your travels that you are willing to share. I usually don't get to go beyond the casino very often. It's usually home to work and home to work and home to work, just like any other person. I would like to take a moment and remind you of what I just said, the sanctity of chance. And allow me to remain confident that it will be allowed to remain unsullied probability in the future.
I certainly won't be changing them.
I won't touch your tables.
Very good. I'd hate to have to formulate a response.
I don't think we stand in opposition to each other.
I honestly don't think so either, he says, completely changing demeanor. I don't think so either, frankly. Consider me, if you would, the proprietor of a brothel for your wallet. Show up, get drunk, empty yourself out, go home too early in the morning.
Distractions. Do you often assist with those, I assume?
Of course. I enjoy decadence. Do you remember my house?
Yes.
I enjoy luxuries. I enjoy finery. I enjoy those things of pleasure.
At some point, there are some people who I may be interested in introducing you to them.
Really? And who do you think I would be interested in meeting? Hmm?
What do you know of the Westmans?
They've never been guests, which limits how much I can know. But they are... I mostly know them third hand. They're not really my kind of people. There's a... They're too directed. Honestly, they just don't know how to have fun.
All of them seems to enjoy decadence.
Albrecht enjoys cruelty. Now, as do I. However, for me, the cruelty is the joy of it. For him, it's always for a purpose.
Interesting.
He's far too outcome oriented.
Not looking at the journey.
No. If you're going to do all of it, you may as well enjoy getting it all over you, honestly. Now, do you consider them foes?
At the moment, I'm not sure what I consider them.
They're potent.
Certainly.
Educated. I certainly would not... I do not think that I would send anyone I liked to try to break into their home. Do you want to know where their home is?
Not at this time. Though there is one other person who I'm curious about information more than anything.
It's fine. I love gossip.
What gossip do you know about Andrew Wright Donahue?
More than zero. He's a little shit.
That's the general feeling I got off of him, yes.
And he makes a very exaggerated show of looking around. It is cartoonish. Like, he puts his hands on the table, he lifts his shoulders up, he does the full look and the full look. You're almost entirely certain he makes some kind of informational eye contact with one of the waiters, in that, like, no one's going to come around this table until I bring someone over, sort of eye contact. And he turns around and he sits down and he puts his chin in his fingers. The problem with you humans is that you die so fast. You never really get to... Well, very rarely, I hope that all of you manage to buck the trend a little bit. But you usually die right about the time you start getting interesting. See, If Andrew had a few hundred years to be an idiot for a while and actually learn from it and recover, grow back a limb or three, I'm sure that he would sharpen right up to a nice, useful person, but he's going to die well before he becomes anything more than what he is, a greedy little shit who is obsessed with newness. He must have this year's everything, which, let me tell you, makes him an outstanding suit purchaser and absolutely shit at wines. And I simply cannot abide impatient sommeliers. So he is a member of a society. The extents of the society, I honestly don't know. Some of them came in here as a group one night after one of their meetings, and I do not know what or who they did, but they were full of that particular entrepreneurial spirit that inspired the conquistadors.
I see.
And they did not end their night here. I enjoy my job. I enjoy having fun. I like the entertainment. I like the sweat and the taste and the smoke and the fun and the sound of the dice on the felt. I like hearing heartbeats spike when they realize they're out of money. I love all of it. I love the winning. I will cheer a victor as broadly as I will salute a loser. It is the game, it is the action, it is the fun of it that means so much to me. But inasmuch as I am in a position of service as a professional, I am not a slave. I am not a servant. I am in service. And the subtle but deadly important distinction between those two states was lost on those young Turks. And in the interests of peace, I simply made them bored enough to leave.
Are they the sort to so easily go to war?
Mr. Van Horst, had I indulged myself in my moment of pique, Jimmy would still be picking them out of the glass in the ceiling. My apologies. Let's freshen up our drinks. And he waggles a finger for a...
So, while we're sitting here and we're getting our new drinks like that, one thing that I am curious about is, does he ever look at Matthew's left hand?
Yes.
Like, does he seem to notice or react to it in any way?
He notices, but it's not a reaction the way you would expect a reaction. He's not like, egads!
Yeah, no, like I would assume it'd be something subtle.
Well, it's not entirely subtle because Mac is that weird, unsubtly subtle kind of creature.
Yeah.
Where he can hold his thoughts in and maintain a level of poise and dignity, but the style of his thoughts, the essence of them, has a tendency to spill out.
Mm.
And so there is a moment, Matthew, when you are reaching for a drink and using your inhuman hand.
Well, it's covered with a glove.
Yes. Where you are using it, so it has been kind of brought to the forefront and kind of closer to the middle of the table. And you do catch a moment where Mac is just kind of doing the like, oh, that's interesting. Sort of running his finger over his lip in that kind of interested kind of way. But not in a like, oh no, that's so scary, or ah yes, I must have it, but that like, oh, how intriguing.
The thing with him is that the fact that his pinky is back at all. He didn't even expect for him to be able to tell that it was a different type of weapon. Which I assume he can, but
it is definitely at least the pinky.
Yeah. But yeah, I think that he'll go back to like being more polite small talk after the drinks are called to be refreshed.
Yeah. And clearly he's paying.
Mm-hmm.
He is the host in this moment. And he says, you'll have to come over to the house sometime. Looks like you find yourself flush with new currency.
It's certainly a possibility.
And here is Bethany, where your sixth sense eats shit. Because your supernatural instincts turn 90 degrees to the left at 60 miles an hour and drive into a cinder block wall. That cinder block wall being your instincts go, Mac is pissed, everything is terrible. When that is clearly where to third person omniscient for a minute, he's clearly just intensely intrigued.
Yeah.
But like,
yeah,
there's a lizard and a monkey in the back of your head going, we're gonna die.
Yes, which means that Bethany now definitely is not gonna do, like, her intention after drinks to be very friendly was going to be to go like play a hand or two at a table, like as a with or a for Mac of like, yeah, we're back in the house, look, I'm behaving here, we're doing your thing that is your game and your chance. And now she is not. Bethany has gone like quiet and still in her drink in the like a small prey animal, like so when I was much younger, I had hamsters, or I had a hamster at a time, or mice or whatever. I had small rodent pets, and I had to keep my door shut to keep the cats from getting in because the cats would knock the cage over. And at least one time in my life, I did come in to the room where the cat had knocked the entire cage over, and the hamster was fine because the hamster didn't move. Frozen, tiny, little, no fun to play with because it just didn't move. And I think the cat had gotten bored and left the room, and the hamster was still like there. on the floor. So Bethany has definitely gone gently like, nope, entire prey animal. I will be as still as possible and don't notice me, don't see me. I'm not here.
I think the moment that happened, Matthew doesn't do anything because he's not going to draw attention to it. He's going to have drinks. He's going to have some more conversation. He's going to mention that maybe tomorrow, he's got some business. He's got some business early in the morning, so he can't do something tonight. But maybe tomorrow he'd love to come down and play some hands. But tonight he actually does need to turn in.
Yeah, it is stupid o'clock.
Yeah, so
it is entirely reasonable for you to be like,
yeah.
I actually need to go to bed before the sun comes up.
And like Bethany can tell that this is the because he's done this before with her specifically. This is the Matthew program autopilot of we need to get out. How do I get us out as quickly as possible?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Because back in the day when it was just the two of them in the house, and then there would be like parties or social events or things like that. This is the protocol that has been
the Bethany
on
protocol.
The Bethany protocol.
Yeah.
And eventually, pretty quickly, but like not so quickly that it's super noticeable. I'm happy to do I'm actually going to do a act under pressure because I ate so much. I was really bad at like hiding my intentions before.
Yeah.
So
legitimately, I think I'm going to give you a -1.
That's valid
because of all of the shit y'all ate. Yeah.
We did real bad for a while.
Yeah. I mean, sometimes you get egg on your face, but you used an ostrich egg tonight, and that's a lot.
Yeah.
Valid. What's my coolness?
Oh, Matthew.
What? My coolness is 2. So I got a 13, and that bumps me up to 15.
Well, fine. Good. Glad you managed to pull out of the dive.
Desperately needed to. This is why I brought up my coolness.
Yeah.
This is important. Bethany's coolness is at -1.
Oh, wait, no, because you gave me a -1, so I am at a 14.
Okay, now I have to look again.
Sorry.
False
I do
anger,
it, but hesitate
anger.
or delayed or must deal with a complication.
Yes. So what was your objective?
So the objective is to smoothly, without drawing attention to Bethany's situation of like going frozen, be able to like extricate us from the situation in a like pleasant social manner. That's like the goal.
You generally do that. However, there have like I do get a move for Bethany's failure of Sixth Sense. So to kind of make a terrible smoothie out of all of this.
Yes.
So Matthew, you say everything right. You have every version of this script memorized. However, the problem is that part of the script is don't look at Bethany. Because if I look at Bethany, other people are going to look at Bethany, and what I need to do is to make everyone not look at Bethany.
Yeah.
Like I need to get
make
Bethany
everyone
out of this
me.
situation while not being perceived.
Yeah.
The problem is that when you say the things that you know are cues for Bethany to respond in these situations, and Bethany, you've got as much of an autopilot for this moment as he does, she doesn't respond.
Sure does not.
And that is when you biff, because you do the like, now I have to look at her to find out why she's not playing her part.
Yeah.
And it's that like, it's a brief like check-in look, but it is a tell.
Yeah.
And Mac notices, and a bit of a cloud goes over his face. Then he says, well, maybe another time then.
Horst.
Well, if you're just going to go to bed by yourself, I can't keep you from it. So, and he kind of pushes away and stands up and starts doing the process of goodbye-ing.
Yeah. We ever so awkwardly go upstairs.
Yeah.
Bethany, you are left with the distinct sense that Mac has not had his distrust in you ameliorated.
Oh, yeah. It doesn't help that the things that Bethany, because Bethany was, in fact, incredibly specific when he asked her if she would not touch things like chance as to where she would not touch them.
I will not touch your tables.
Yep. Well, because Bethany in her head before was like, sure, everything is everyone has a chance, but the cards are stacked against you. The house always wins. These are all parts of it. Like, you play the hand you're dealt, and we were dealt a very good one, and you can still get yourself a better hand. Like, you say everything is chance, but really nothing is, and where do you draw the line, and how much chance do I have to leave you in setting myself up to be, like, as close to correct as possible? Like, what is my margin of failure that still counts as a gamble, Mac? In her brain.
Yes.
Like, that was all in her brain this entire conversation when she wasn't talking, is that it's not breaking the rules if I change my odds, but it's breaking the rules if I cheat. How much of changing my odds is cheating? Like, she really is in the, like, missing sort of the, like, the spirit of the intention of Mac, of you have to play the game. Because part of it is the Van Horsts have always played by their own rules.
Mm-hmm.
And so she doesn't understand just playing the game without ensuring that, you know, you have the greatest chance of success. Or even if when she was just playing the game in her life, someone else around her has been ensuring that she had the greatest chance of success. So, like, she doesn't know how to play a game of chance and have it matter.
Yes.
Like, she is never going to hit the jackpot and have it change her life. That happened.
Yeah, that's Tuesday.
Born. You know, that the jackpot will never do that for her. Her jackpot was before she was born. Like, she's never going to have the, like, you know, I went on The Price is Right and I won a car and now I'm a movie star storyline or whatever that is. That doesn't exist. She's always had all the things, and so she still doesn't understand what it means to gamble in the way that Mac needs it to mean.
Mm-hmm.
So she hasn't. So she doesn't she sort of doesn't understand the spirit of his request and still trying to, like, think around the rules in it. And so in doing that, I think, and then, like, got a weird thing and got a look from Mac, she's like, oh, so the things that I was thinking, those were wrong. And that means that, like, that she's just like, oh, I don't understand how he plays a game, and I'm playing his game. I will get into trouble if I play his game because I will play it wrong for him, and he wants me to come play the game, so I will play it wrong for him so that he can come after us, having, like, arranged all of that to do it all, you know, fairly. And isn't that just stacking the deck for yourself, Mac? What? So she's off in her head.
Yeah.
Odds.
Wow.
Gone. She's gone off into the, like, this is some weird subtle trick about the understanding of what does.
She got into the
Gamble.
weeds.
Oh, yeah.
So far. She got so far into the weeds and is still like in her head about this. And if Matthew asks her what's wrong, he will get this random torrent of like odds and stacking and how does it work? And but like the going, I don't think I know how. Like I was gonna offer to play a hand with Mac for Mac as a thing, but I don't think I know how to play in the way that he needs people to play. I don't like. She's just in an I don't understand this at all.
Matthew's gonna just be like, this might be something to sleep on. We're
It's like if the
tired.
Sicilian from Princess Bride took melange from Dune.
Yeah.
It's-
Yes.
He's just like,
Yes.
this is gonna be a tomorrow problem.
Yeah.
This is for tomorrow, Bethany.
Yes.
Bethany is sitting here going, does that mean I don't know how to live a fun, decadent way? She is off. Like, he's now in a
The answer
psychic
is no, you don't.
she is now in a psychic worry about like the fact that she can't understand Max, like the spirit of himself, and the gambling is bringing her into question of herself and her own like ability to understand the world currently. She is gone.
Yeah. Bethany, who was like 36 hours ago floating around in a cloud of gay butterflies, is now
Yes.
like, what is joy?
Pretty much. Well, the red lady went to sleep and she can't, it is too warm in Las Vegas to sleep under a pile of down comforters, because that's all she really wants to do is re-emulate the pressure of those wings, and she cannot because it is hot here. She's mad about that part.
Yeah.
She's like, how much air conditioning can we get? I need to sleep under 6 down comforters.
And I think as that conversation comes to an end and Mac gives a like not angry but very untrusting like goodbye.
Yeah.
Yep.
And both of you leave with a sense of both accomplishment and as if somehow you have heard the click of a landmine underfoot.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
I think that's the vibe that we will hold the Van Horsts in amber.
Yeah.
Until we can make this all Clara's problem.
Yeah.
Yes.
That was my thing. It's like, I feel like they're gonna come upstairs and be like, Clara, we fucked up the social shit.
That's a really good
Yeah.
idea. It's about like a dance thing for your show that's like a magic thing, and that was good. But then we got champagne and then back and then yeah. Nope.
It's yes. I hope that you can like save state Bethany's brain right now, because I just want to hear this just come out of your mouth at Clara.
Oh my god.
I could certainly try.
You're a human being. It's okay if you can't.
I mean, it's a pretty hilarious spot. I could probably find it again.
Yeah. Oh, bless. All right.
Yeah.
So I think that's going to be where we end our story for the night. That's it, guys. My brain's a little tired. Thank you. Please take care of yourselves. You are worth the effort to care for yourself. So we will see you guys later.